It is I, John Feline, is back, and he's never been faster. Blistering through fantastic realms, battling awesome streamers, overcoming tremendous bandwidth issues at blistering next-gen speeds. How we doing, guys? It is I, Mr. John Feline, has returned. It is, yes, Llama, it is John Feline, exactly. That is now my legal name. That is my legal name. That is my legal business DBA name. Produced by and directed by John Feline. That's what I'm going to put on the end credits of my game. I'm not going to put my actual name anywhere. I mean, I'm kidding. John Feline is my actual name. It's going to be all over the thing. You're going to open up the game, and the opening logo, I'm going to have this over-animated, like, you know how the old Sega logo was, where it's got the big, and it's going to say John Feline. And then when you finish the game, it's going to have, like, the Linkin Park 2007, what I've done, and then it'll say directed by John Feline. I shouldn't have told you that. That's actually spoiling the ending of the game. God damn it. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep spoiling the game. The part where it cuts to black with Linkin Park and says directed by John Feline. Oh no. Greetings from New York. Oh hell yeah. What's up, my fellow Americans in chat right now? So where have I been? What have I been up to? Well, I have some exciting progress to show you this week. And by exciting, I mean some of the most boring but important stuff that you can do when making anything with computers. So, I think last stream was a couple weeks ago now. I've just been kind of busy, a lot of admin stuff. Sorry guys, a lot of boring admin stuff I've had to do. But I've been trying to make progress on things all the same. However, what do I want to go into first? There's been some website progress, not a lot, but there's been a little bit of website progress. And then there's been this whole other thing I've been having to do lately. I'll start with the website because it's a little more interesting. I'll show you the fun stuff first, and then I'll show you some interesting parts of game development that maybe you wouldn't think are important, but are actually quite important. But first, I'll show you how this is looking. So, at the moment, aesthetically, not much has changed. Oh, thanks, by the way, Tomok, for the 50! Whoa! Very generous, kind sir. Blessings of Akatosh upon you.
With the summer sale going, have you had the chance to take a look at some indie games like Awita, Journey of Hope or Spirit X Strike? I may be saying that because I streamed both of those games.
Well, maybe you did. I don't know. I don't really watch other streamers that much. But no, I have not really had time to play any games, sadly. There has been other sales going on that I've been on top of, though, but they aren't Steam sales. So I don't know how it is in America, but in my hometown, on my planet, in Australia, the financial year elapses in June, the end of June. So I don't know what it's like over there for you normal people in the Northern Hemisphere, but down here, the financial year, you got to do all your taxes and everything in like June 30th to July, and then you got like a few months, whatever, to do it. Around that time, everything goes on sale. There's end of financial year sale in July. That's how it works here. With that said, I've been making other purchases that are not video games, sadly. I wish it could be video games, but I've had to buy some much more important things. But we'll get to that in a bit. I want to show you some cool stuff first, and then I'll tell you all about the awesome deals I've been getting on some hardware that I need for my little setup here. It's going to be awesome. In the US, it ends in February. Okay. See, early spring, that's confusing to me because spring in Australia is not in February. We have the inverted seasons. So it's winter right now for me. For me specifically, actually. Just for me. For the other Australians, it's actually summer, just like you guys. But for me specifically, it is winter in this room. And yeah, I run my own little John Feline nation here, where I have my own rules. No, I'm kidding. I wish. So, tax returns in February for US. That's interesting. And so yeah, February would be spring then. Sorry, yeah, it just sounds so weird to me because I don't know. I consume so much American media, but I keep forgetting I don't live there. Oh, thanks, Snuppill, so much for the gifted membership. Thank you so much, guys. Very generous this week. God, you're making me miss winter. I always miss winter, even when it's winter. Thanks so much, Snuppill. Appreciate that. AltGuard received a membership. That's awesome. AltGuard, you are now a member. How does it feel? Sierra says there's a dome around the house that makes it winter. Yeah. No, just this room. Just this room. This is my little territory in here, and it's winter in here, and then everywhere else it's Fallout 3 radiation zone. That's everywhere else. Pretty much the rest of Australia. Anyway, enough talking about the world outside. Let's talk about the cool, interesting world inside my computer right now. So, with the website, I'll show you okay, I'm going to show you something scary. So this is the surface. It looks pretty innocuous, but I started working on some stuff like this. And what is this, you may ask? Well, G-Ray, it almost looks like computer code. Whoa. Have you been coding, son? Yes, I have been coding, Dad. I have been coding. Now, what is this for? Why do I have all this code? What is this? Python. Why do I have Python? Why the hell am I learning Python? What's going on? So, with my pipeline with this site, this has been one of the last obstacles to get it out, is having a pipeline where I can add stuff to the site and not have it take forever, and not have to go through and manually... Well, that's part of the reason I'm doing this through Hugo in the first place, because with like raw HTML, if you want to publish stuff to a static site in raw HTML, you have to do something like this. So if I go inspect element over here and open up a few of these divs, let's go to a post with actual text on it, maybe. If it lets me. Is it going to freeze? I think it's going to freeze because oops, I got to run the command. Hold on, I look like such a hacker right now. Sick. Okay, please work. Please work. So I've made some UI updates, you could say, but let's say I've got this post open, right? And you see all this text, like the actual post, like the text. So you see how when you actually look at it, I don't know if you guys can see it, but when you actually look at this text in the source code of what this actually is, you have to write it in all this HTML formatting. And it's like, you got to do the P/P and like all this stuff, right? So that's how people did it in like 1994. That's how people used to write blogs. That's why at the time when blogs started, there was only like 14 blogs in the world, because the people that would write them had to write them like this by hand. And like 14 people on the earth were bothered to do that at one point in time. Things have evolved since then, though, and I don't have to write it like this when I actually write these things, which is great. I use Obsidian to actually write these, which is a very cool markdown editor. And I can just preview it as actual text. So the plan is I have a whole Obsidian vault that I've been consolidating lately, because I used to have multiple Obsidian vaults for different reasons, but it's also kind of a pain to organize multiple vaults. So I've consolidated all of them into one vault, and it's way easier to link stuff and organize things, and I can see all of the ideas I have for everything just in one vault, which is actually probably what I should have done at the beginning. But what I want to do, because Hugo, which is the site builder framework I'm using, it uses Markdown. That's why that's the cool thing about using Obsidian and Hugo, is that it both uses Markdown. So the pipeline goes something like, I don't know if I can open my vault real quick. I'll just open a little segment of it, because there's a lot in here that I'm not allowed to show. But if I find a safe folder I can open... I have a big folder in here just for the website that looks something like this. And this is how I actually write stuff. So it's in this nice interface. I've got this nice font picked out. I can write stuff. I can add images. It's awesome. And it's all just a markdown file. And I can have links and everything. And it's perfect. And then Hugo, what Hugo does, it takes markdown files you give it and turns it into a web page. So it does all the HTML stuff for you, that's how it turns it into this, which is really cool. But there is a problem. I think I might have told you guys about this last stream, but for those that weren't here, see, if you have an attachment like this image, you see how it's linked website static feline Gabby Mark 3 .webp, this file. So that's not exactly like, that's how this is a link to a file in my Obsidian vault. So I have a folder in here of images in Obsidian so that I can link them and preview them in Obsidian. So I know what images I'm going to attach when I write. But the images in the Hugo website folder are not going to be in the same place because the whole website is in a different folder. It's in a different thing altogether. So the directory, it just so happens though that I've organized it in such a way where it still is kind of easy to access. All I have to do to make this work in Hugo would be to delete those two prefixes, this little website and whatever. But it won't work on Obsidian because it's like, oh, we can't find that file. We can't find it. But Hugo will know where that is because I've put it like in that position in the Hugo site. So the thing is, if that means that I can attach these images here in Obsidian, but if I want all of them to work in Hugo, I need to change every link to be the right, to change to the right destination in the Hugo file, which that's a whole different folder that's managed differently. That's got a repository and source control and everything, where my Obsidian Vault doesn't. And maybe I should do that with Obsidian at some point, but it's neither here nor there for now. It's not big priority yet. So the thing is, there's a lot of images in all of these. There's probably maybe at least 40 posts. And this little list here is just the stuff. There's also a bunch of these unfinished ones that I need to finish formatting that all have attachments. And there's probably something like 200 attachments in total. And it's like, all right, well, how about what I do? What if I made a script that automatically changes out these links and reformats finds all the links in every file and changes it to be the new destination in the Hugo folder. But that's actually kind of complicated, it turns out, because I'm not a programmer, okay? I'm not a rapper, but I'm not a rapper, okay? I don't know how any of this, I don't know what this does. This is in Python, and I've done the classic beginner thing where you go online on Stack Overflow and look up a script that someone else wrote, and then you try and reverse engineer how it works and make it do your thing. That's what I've done. So I've looked at some code from some other guide, and I've tried to redo bits of it for what I want, but it doesn't work. So classic programmer moment, right? But hey, that's probably still more effort than what most people do now. I'm not going to some language model and going, oh, I can't be bothered to research. Can you please write my code for me? No, I'm not doing any of that. But it means that I have to understand what's going on, and I don't understand what most of the syntax means. This is why I'm a blueprint guy, because syntax I don't get it. That is my weak point. I understand the logic of oh, step 1, do this, and step 2. I understand what it's doing, but I have no idea. My brain gets so tripped up by all these colons, semicolons, and especially regex, which is what this is. I had to write this regex expression to find because you have to tell the code, this is what a link is, by the way. Anything with a slash or a colon in this order with anything in the middle here and whatever, that is a link that you need to focus on so that it doesn't just replace the whole note. And oh my God, it works sometimes, but not all the time. And it's actually quite complicated to make it work reliably. I was able to get it working, but only for one type of file extension. So it was working for WebP files, but not GIFs. And I was like, oh, well, damn, how do I make it work with just any file extension? And so that turned into a whole thing, and I got super stuck on it. And here's what I've done to solve it. I've done this expert level move, and that's that I've given up on trying to make some sort of script for it. And my plan now is to just manually fix the links, because it'll take less time than trying to learn Python and all this regex nonsense. So I'm just going to do it manually, because I understand how to do it manually. So I've got a few attempts. I've written like a few attempts at different scripts. So I've got, take 1, take 2, take 3, and none of them work. So it turns out that's kind of complicated, actually. So yeah. So that's why at the moment there's no attachments working. But once I go in and manually fix it all, it will work. But then there's another thing, because that's just the blog area. And I figured, well, that's going to be a lot of work, and I need something cool to show off this week. So why don't I start getting, something else together for everything else on the site that isn't the specific section on the blog? What if I just did that? And so I've got a bit of that going on, because I want to also populate the site with other areas of what my current site has, where I've got a little gallery of my other stuff that maybe you guys don't know I do. I do a bit of drawing. I've got some personal artwork, music that I've made. So this all exists on these very boring pages right now on my current site. And I thought, well, I need a way to make these in Hugo, but I didn't know how to do that really. So I figured out a way to do it, using custom shortcodes and styling to make it my own gallery view in this thing. So I've got a little, some CSS here that does some styling, and I've got my own little custom shortcodes here that turn specific pages, like the list page for music, or I want to have one for art eventually, and for videos, and for games. I'm going to have them listed in like a gallery view as well. So I've changed it just for those pages, not the blog page, but everything else will do this thing where you can put an image, you can have the title, and it'll put the date, and it'll put it in this specific class, which then in my CSS will format it to look presentable, and it'll have it in a big grid or something. So you've got these little grids here where it's got a thumbnail loaded in and a title and a date of when I released it. So I've just got it for the music right now, because that was the simplest to do. And then you can click on one of these and it'll open a page. And I haven't written anything here yet, but it's really cool because this list will auto-populate with whatever page. If you make any files inside this directory, so music, I've got 2 here. I've got for 2 music releases I've done. And if you go and make another one, if I go like new file and go bruh.md or something, then if I refresh it, you'll see another entry here, but it's not gonna, because I haven't added any front matter, so it's not gonna have a title or anything yet. So if I copy some of this front matter and go the bruh album, I don't know, whatever. Now you've got the 3rd entry there, and it just works. It just works, and it's so cool. And then on that specific page, you can type in. Hold on, my keybinds have stopped working. Hello, I want to get my window. Thank you. Why has this all stopped working? I can't show my other window now. That's fantastic. One sec. Hold on a minute. Oh, well, oh, hold on. I'm using a third-party window manager as well. So I'm like half doing what Linux people do, but still using Windows. All right, so I could go into like this page, right? And I can type in Skibbity, Rizzler, Ohio, whatever you kids like to read about now on the World Wide Web, right? And then I can go...
coding in Python. You may want to look up The Farmer Was Replaced. That game is played by coding in Python, so some of us peasants might understand the context.
Huh. Thanks so much for the 10, by the way. The Farmer Was Replaced. So it's a game... It's played by coding in Python. That sounds kind of cool. Well, if I do decide to continue learning Python just for this purpose, I might look at it. But yeah, at the moment, I've gone, well, I could just do this manually. I could, yeah. So anyway, so there's there we go. We got our Zoomer text little description here, and you could write paragraphs of this stuff and have it all on one page. So, like me, you can have the Bra album, Skibbity Biden, right? There you go. So so making content that's what you kids call it, right? Making content, super easy. You just type in your stuff and you got content. You don't need to AI generate articles anymore. You can just do this and it just works. So cool. So the only problem is, of course, you got to actually write stuff that's worth reading. So that's probably where people get stuck. But I have plenty to say about everything here, so I'll be fine. It's just formatting it nicely is all. That's the only thing. So there is some issues, though, with this gallery view, because I've tried to also use it on the posts view, so that when you look at all my blog posts, it'll show a thumbnail with the title and date. But it does something weird where if you have an image that's not the right size, it'll stretch the hell out of it. So there's that problem. So that's something I will need to fix. But imagine a whole gallery of blog posts instead of just a list, which is what I had before. It was just a text list. Now you've got thumbnails, which is a bit more SEO or whatever it's a bit more skibbity, right? That's no, I'm slowly becoming less boomer now. I'm becoming more zoomer. Oh no. So it's getting there. It's just making a website is actually kind of complicated, it turns out. So I was expecting this to be done a lot sooner, but it'll be that much better when it is done. But it's complicated stuff. Trying to do it all handcrafted, trying to do it like the boomers do it. So, but taking it a thing at a time. The reason why this progress has been quite slow on the site is because I've had my hands full with something else, which maybe I'll get into. There's been some other stuff I've been bombarded with that kind of takes priority over everything. But I'll see if you guys have any feedback on this system first. Sierra says, I saw a mention of Markdown in one of your comments in the Python script. Is that what you're using for formatting? Markdown? Yeah. So every article that's going to be here it's written initially in Markdown. So all of everything I write, I don't even use Word anymore or anything. I just use Obsidian Markdown. That's what I do for everything. So my day-to-day schedules, all of my journaling, notes, anything game design related, I literally threw my game design document in the bin and I'm just using Obsidian notes now. And it's cool because with Obsidian, it's all in Markdown, so it's just plain text. So you can take it to other things if you get sick of Obsidian, which is cool. But also you can link between your own documents, which you can't do with Word and stuff or Notepad. You see how this has a hyperlink? You see here where it's glaring issues with Project Feline's gameplay? When I click on that, I have it linking to the current website now, but you can make those hyperlinks just in Markdown, and you can link them to websites or other pages inside the website. So that's pretty cool. I thought that was neat because I do tend to think a lot in links. I have that kind of, that sort of thinking, right? But yeah, I don't even probably know what all the features are using Obsidian and Markdown. There's probably heaps of features it gives you that I'm not using, but I've found it pretty good. Because the cool thing is you don't have to use all of it. There's probably heaps of advanced features that I just don't need to use that it won't force me to. It's not going to have this little pop-up in the corner saying, hey buddy, would you like to try our assistant and try this new feature? It's no, you're going to leave me alone and let me use you the way I want, okay? You're going to have the interface laid out how I want, and I literally just have the default layout. I have no extra fancy stuff, just pure writing only. That's all I use it for. So anyway, you can go and watch some other video if you want to know more about Obsidian and what it can do. I'm not really the guy because I'm using the bare minimum for it. There's heaps of people that have all these advanced systems that they can do with all this stuff, way beyond my capabilities. So can I kill this process in my terminal now? That's sort of all I have to show for the website. Oh, it's not. Oh, hold on. There we go. Taiga FX says, first stream to catch. I know you said you want to learn Python and all, but I could whip out a script and do what you need to put it on GitHub if you like. I mean, if you want to. I personally prefer just writing things on my own so that I understand what it's doing. So that way, for whatever reason, if Python or whatever decides to update its thing and my code stops working, I'll like be able to actually read what I've written and understand what it's doing. I think if you want to look at what I've already got, I mean, you can just take a screenshot of this now, I guess. The main issue is that it like mostly works, I think, but not all the time. Like I can't remember which version of this was the it might have been this version that I wanted to, I don't know. This was like from a week ago and I don't remember which one is the right one anymore. But the idea is that I've got the links formatted in so I don't know if I can find quickly one of the posts. If I go to Feline, oh no, it's in posts. Here's a test post. So here's one of the links that I've manually converted. But the way it looks in Obsidian, it'll look like, this is how I do it in Obsidian. Basically what I want it to do is find, because what I'm doing, and this will only work with the way I've done it, because in my Obsidian vault and in the website folder, I'm organizing all of the content exactly the same. The only difference is this prefix. So all I really need it to do is find any instance of website content static and slash, I guess, and remove it. At least I don't know if you need the slash. I think you actually might need the slash there. Let me undo that. Yeah, you do need the slash there, I think, for it to do. So all I need to do is find this string anywhere and remove it. And for whatever reason, that was actually simpler than what I was originally trying to do. But I don't know if I just gave up or I got stuck. I can't remember now because I've just had my hands full with other stuff for the last couple of days. So I think I did try doing that where it's like, find this string. I guess I'll expand it. It should be static content and then just like remove it, I think is what I was trying to do. But I don't really understand what any of this does because this was copied from some tutorial. So I don't understand what this means. I don't understand what this means. I don't understand what this means. So I'm hoping, because my usual process is I will tinker around and then I'll kind of slowly figure out what it's doing and go, oh, and that's how that's when I was like 12 years old, that's how I learnt JavaScript and C#. That's how I did Unity stuff. Like I literally would just copy code online, reverse engineer it, and then after doing that for 200 hours, I would kind of understand how it worked. But keep in mind, this is not my strong suit. I would not consider programming my strong suit. I do just good enough that it works, but it's definitely, I'm much better at anything else, I would say. So I just, I'm kind of a programmer by necessity, you could say. So, I mean, I think it's one of these two is what I was trying to do. This one was more complicated because I was using wiki links instead of markdown links originally. But it made it easier when I just went and changed all of my Obsidian files to use just normal markdown links instead. So that cut the workload a little, but I still it still didn't work with getting rid of this consistently in each file. And then like copying the attachments over, because there was another part, it might have been in this JavaScript thing I was trying to do it. I think it might have been this one where I was trying to get it to copy automatically all of the attachments over to the website. Yeah, so again, this was all just from some tutorial I was following, and the guy writing the tutorial, he done it in such a way that his method worked for his site, but only because all of his files were like of one format. Like it was only using PNGs, and that's why his one worked, but I'm not doing that, so I have to change it. But anyway, yeah, sorry, it gets real boring. So Yeah, so I'm just kind of pushing brute force forward in whatever way I can, really. Cybershell asked, did you find interest in 2000 CD players as UI? That's an interesting question, because I don't know if I've told you about my CD player. Because I have a 2000 CD player right here, actually. I don't know if I can... I've got a disc inside it, so I don't want to damage it. And I can't. It's plugged into the wall. I don't know if you... Can you guys see that? I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me show you. But yeah, these things... Can you see it? Look, I'm doing the YouTube point, the meme. So that's the 2008 alarm clock. Actually so cool. I would recommend anyone, if you're serious about time, don't use your phone as a clock. Oh my God. Use an actual clock, okay? Don't use your freaking phone. I could go on a whole 30-minute rant on why you need to, but look, I'm just going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it brief. Get a clock. Don't use your freaking phone, all right? Anyway, so if you want to know more about why, super chat me like $5 and I'll give you a 30-minute essay on why it's so important you need an actual clock. But anyway, so the design of it is pretty cool, and because I look at it every day, I get subconsciously influenced all the time, because it is really cool. Like, the design is actually really cool. And I have been thinking for the Project Feline parts of the site, because I've got this sort of mid-century classic thing going on for the personal sides of the site. So that's going to be how it looks normally, just with my own, like if I have my list of drawings here, well, just use your imagination to render the site for a moment. So I'm going to have that as the default theme, but for the Project Feline corner of the site, I do want it to kind of have this silver-blue color scheme, like my alarm clock there. So to answer your question, yes. But I'm not sure exactly how well such a design could translate to a site. So, because it's circular. That's kind of the appeal of this thing. But the textures of the buttons, the gradients that you... Like, making buttons that look like that, you could probably do with gradients, like mid-gray to light gray, to make it have that kind of metal look. You could probably do something like that, I reckon. I could totally see that clock in Gabby's room. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see that as well. Yeah. Because her suit is kind of the same color scheme. I don't know if that might have been an accident, perhaps. Or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Yeah. So, now, this is where we get to the next part. So, I keep saying I've been busy with something else lately, and maybe some of you guys will understand my struggles here. Maybe some of you won't, but I think anyone that works in professional IT, you're gonna have a field day right now. Okay, you're gonna be really entertained by what I have to say next. So, Raymond, why has there been so little progress on the website? You're probably wondering. Well, person who asked, if they did, I don't know. I'm guessing someone's probably thinking that. Well, the reason is because I've been having my hands full with something else that has been a very expensive problem, and urgent that I solve immediately. Because like I said with Tomok, are you spending money? Have you bought any new games? No, because I can't really buy new games right now. I have been busy trying to figure out what kinds of hard drives to buy. Okay, because I've got a scheme I'm hatching here. I've got a plan that I'm hatching. So I have an issue at the moment. I'm going to get out... I'm going to do the YouTuber streamer thing right now. I'm going to get MS Paint open real quick. I'm going to do some drawing. Okay, we're going to do some diagrams. I'm going to try and illustrate to you this really complicated problem I'm having right now. Do I actually have... I don't think I've actually got MS Paint installed. Oh, I do. Okay, sweet. I've never used MS Paint, so... Is there a way I can change the background, by the way, to be... yeah, okay, sweet. All right, okay. Now we're in real Twitch streamer territory now. Welcome. So, I have an issue with my whole system. So I've got this game, right? This is game. This is Feline. Game. Excuse my bad handwriting, please. So this is Feline. I have videos. God, I always see these shorts of people drawing on these freaking whiteboards, and I guess now I'm doing it. I just thought it'd be entertaining. So yeah, go ahead and laugh. I know. So I've got all my videos, and I've got website, all this stuff, and that is all on my handy dandy computer. I'm going to draw my little Blu-ray drive on it and my fans. I'm going to make this a detailed drawing. That's my computer. It all lives on this computer, right? Now, if you're a serious IT person, you will see the issue with this immediately. And that's, where's your backup? Do you have this backed up anywhere? Not to worry, gentlemen, I do. I have plugged into this thing a tiny little Western Digital MyBook that backs up scheduled backups of all of this stuff. Now, if you're an actual IT person, you will still see a massive problem. And I recognize it as well. So when I bought all of this hardware I'm using, which includes my computer, the hard drives in it, and my backup, I have an external backup drive just on my desk here that I plug it all into. I bought all of that 6 years ago, before I was doing anything really important. I bought this stuff back when, I was like using it to play games. I was like, oh, I want a gaming PC so I can play Overwatch. That's why I bought this computer. I wasn't really doing anything serious. But a lot can happen in 6 years. You can get a lot of files. If you're doing important stuff for that long, you get a lot of important files like game source code, videos, footage, website source code. You can get a lot of that stuff when you decide to do stuff on your computer besides playing video games. But if you don't have a proper way to secure all this stuff, you are one accident away from losing it all. And last year came quite close. That there was a bunch of thunderstorms going on, and I luckily have my computer plugged into a UPS, an uninterruptible power supply. It's a big chunky unit, and it means that if the power shuts down, there's a battery inside this thing that will continue powering anything plugged into it, so that I can turn everything off safely in such an event. So if I'm sitting here working and then all of my lights go off, I know that, okay, I gotta log off right now and save everything before, But the last time it happened with the thunderstorm this was like late last year, the UPS died. Like it just shut off. Luckily, my computer was fine. Everything else was fine, but the UPS would not turn on again, so I had to replace the UPS. Had my computer been plugged in directly to the wall, that probably would have been the end of Project Feline. That would have been the end of everything, I think. If it hadn't been for that UPS unit, he took one, Mrs. Obama, get down, and he saved the project. But that is one variable away. That's one bad accident away. And that's not really good enough if you're doing anything serious. So this is a problem I've known about for a while. And there's another conundrum as well, where, I've got the backup drive, right? Oh, it's all safe. Here's an issue. See, when I bought this backup drive, I bought it before I was doing that much. So this is I'll get back to writing here so you Zoomers can follow along. This is a 4 terabyte drive. However, in my computer, I have multiple drives that amount to about 8 terabytes. Now, you probably see an issue here, where it's like, wait a minute, Raymond, you don't have enough space to back up everything. No. No, I don't. I have enough space to choose 4 terabytes of the most important stuff and nothing else. So that's fine if I accept data loss as an inevitability and I'm fine losing stuff. The problem is I kind of don't want to lose any of it because there's actually a lot of important stuff. Not just game files, but all of my personal documents and everything is all on this 8 terabytes. This stream VOD is going to be in that hard drive by the end of the day. All of this stuff, and I don't have enough actual backup storage to save all of it on. So, what do you do? What do you do about such a conundrum? Thanks so much, Tomok, for the 5.
Very well, tell us why we should have a wall clock? And why should it only be displayed in hexadecimal?
Great question, Tomunk. Thanks so much for the 5. All right, so we're going to take a brief pause from my storage plot line here. I'm going to open a new... Can I save this? Can I save? Okay, I'm gonna put this in desktop right now. I'm gonna call this untitled PNG because I'm gonna throw this out later. All right, time for a... Actually, I probably don't need a whiteboard for this story. All right, gather round, kids. Gather round. Tomuk has asked the question, why the hell does Raymond tell you to get a clock? Why the hell what is he... Hold on. Why is it playing... No, I don't want it to... No. Okay. Because it's got a CD in this thing, right? Which is also cool. I'll get to why that's cool in a moment. But in general, why do you need a physical clock? Okay, this is why. So, a couple years ago, I used to use a smartphone for everything, right? It's so convenient. I can just do everything on my phone. I can pay for things on my phone. I can check the time on my phone. I can check the email on my phone. That's so cool. You know what else you can do on your phone? You can waste so much time. You can doom scroll. You can get distracted by things that don't matter. You could get warped into a 4-hour time travel of watching like H3 podcast highlights, okay? And this is serious. This might not seem like a big deal, and you're probably thinking, oh, but it's entertaining. I like watching it. But it's like, no, you don't understand. That is actually like a massive... You don't want to be time traveling on your phone, okay? And I know that sounds like a hyperbolic way, but that's literally what you're doing. If you're doom scrolling, and you will, if you have the temptation, and if you're, younger than 27 probably, I imagine what happens... this is when I was like 21, this was like massively, this was so me, where it's like, I have the phone and there's so much temptation to do anything that isn't important. It's like, oh, I can watch an hour-long YouTube video right now and there's nothing stopping me. And if you don't have any temperance or restraint, then you will do it. And then what happens? Well, all of a sudden, it's been 4 hours and you've just time traveled 4 hours into the future and have accomplished nothing. All that time that you're watching Asmongold highlights, the most critical situation is crazy or whatever. That time is just gushing past you like that, and you don't get it back. If you've decided I'm gonna go down a 4-hour-long rabbit hole of scrolling the Instagram reels, that's now like that time has now been permanently taken off your ledger, you could say, your save file. And I don't know if I even need to say why that's a problem, but maybe I do need to say. I don't know. I don't know what you guys are like with your consumption habits, but there was a time where I didn't think about it too seriously, and I just kind of let because everyone has a do you actually even need a smartphone, honestly? Because I remember I got one in school when I was in high school because everyone was doing it. That was sort of the thing. I remember just, I want a phone. And I was mostly wanting it because it had a camera on it and I wanted to film videos with it. But also, it is really cool. If you're I don't know what it's like for kids now, but if you're, when I was about maybe 12 when the iPhone was sort of coming around. And I remember when you're 12 and you see an iPhone for the first time, it's so freaking cool. All this novelty on it, all of this spectacle on it. Oh, you can play Ragdoll Blaster. You can play Doodle Jump on the bus. That's so cool. And that was my main... I remember there was a whole period where I wanted nothing else but an iPod Touch or something. And I wanted it so bad that I made my own one out of paper because I was jealous of all the other kids at school that had one. And I would always on the bus be like, hey man, can I play Doodle Jump? Can I have a turn on Doodle Jump? And that was everyone on the bus would be playing on their damn phones. It wasn't until I wasn't a kid anymore where I realized that something's not right. Something's not... I was like, wait a minute, is this even a necessary thing? If you're a kid, it's all fun and games. It's all cool. But, when you have better things to do with your time, it's like, hold up, wait a minute. Why do I have this thing? And I started thinking, it's I remember getting into the whole smartphone ecosystem basically because I was bored on the bus when I was 12. And that was the gateway device, you could say. And then I just kept upgrading to different smartphones. And I never thought to wonder, well, wait a minute. I'm not 12. I don't want to play Doodle Jump, which is like the main reason I wanted this thing. Why the hell do I need to keep upgrading to a smartphone? Because then if you don't choose, it chooses for you. And all of a sudden, my habits were being chosen for me, where now, what is my time? Well, I'm not playing Doodle Jump anymore because it's not interesting to me anymore. But now it's like, well, the phone gives you a portal to other distractions. So it's like, all right, well, now you're going to get warped into an hour of scrolling Instagram or whatever thing is like you're most susceptible to. And it's even worse with algorithms now, because this wasn't the case when they first came out. Now with algorithms, you get distracted, tempted with a whole feed of stuff catered specifically to you. So it's like extra targeted, it's extra potent. And it's like, all right, well, if you aren't mentally strong, you will fall for temptation and you will waste that time. That it will take your time like that. That's partly why I got the flip phone as well. That's the other bonus. So my current setup now is the flip phone and using an alarm clock, like an actual clock. That's what I do now. And the reason is because literally, if you were weak at all and you were susceptible to temptation, guess what? You now can't be tempted. You literally can't do it because this thing has a web browser on it, but it's so bad that it's actually not worth it. It's like, oh, if I really wanted to, I could open Instagram on this, but it's so slow. It's like, oh, screw it. I can't be bothered. And if you can't be bothered to visit Instagram when it's slightly more inconvenient, is it even valuable? Is it even worth your time if given a slightly more inconvenient way, you wouldn't bother? No, in my opinion. If something is that important, though, then I will still try to access it on this. So that's what I hope that my website will end up being, if people end up browsing it on phones like this. But the reason why the clock in particular is that a phone still has a bunch of stuff that isn't a clock. Because why do you need a clock? Well, mainly if you're using an alarm clock, waking up on time is kind of the first right choice you need to make in the day. When you wake up, because this was something I would do. I don't know if you guys have done this as well, but when I was like very late teens, early 20s, what would happen was if you're using your phone as the alarm clock and it's next to your bed, you hear it, it does the default, what's the default iPod sound? That alarm that sounds like torture, by the way. My God. Also, you got to pick a good alarm, and we'll get to that in a moment. Got to pick a good alarm, not some default iOS crap, okay? Anyway, but if the alarm device is a massive portal, and these devices are getting bigger, interestingly, right? But if your wake-up device is a massive portal to the nether, okay, to the warp, where you will waste time, and you will time travel, because that's what will happen. This has probably happened to you if you've tried doing this. You wake up, it's like, oh, it's, I'll turn the alarm off. And then to unlock the phone is only one swipe. And what do? It's like, oh, I got to check my Instagram and see what's posted. I got to check my Reddit and see what... And then all of a sudden, you've now time traveled an hour into the future. And it's like, crap, I was meant to be eating breakfast by now. And I've instead time traveled on Reddit. And then you feel like crap for the rest of the day. As you should, because that isn't the right thing to do. You should feel like crap if that's what you've done, because you've failed the first test of the day. You fall into... first choice you've made in the day, you fall into temptation. And your body knows, your brain, your limbic brain knows. It's like, come on, man. This is pathetic. And you know it's pathetic. But because society in general now is so conditioned to not make you feel bad about yourself. It's like, oh no, you're fine. You're perfect the way you are, sweetie. No, you're not. Okay, you got to do better. So, and if you have this cognitive dissonance where everyone around you is telling you that, oh, just do it for you or whatever what is it people saying? Everyone's perfect or whatever. If that's what you're being surrounded by, but your limbic brain is telling you that you're weak, lustful, and like bound to temptation, that's where this whole imposter syndrome crap comes from that everyone talks about. Because if you allow that to happen over a long period, like 4 years, for instance, you end up being that guy that's like on YouTube going like, I love to draw and paint and stuff, but I just have so much imposter syndrome. And I don't know, I just don't feel confident about my work. And it's because you've got all these little tiny things in your life that you're failing at, but but you don't think is important, that everyone is telling you to ignore, but your limbic brain is smarter. That has evolved over millennia, and it knows. It knows when you fall into temptation. It knows when you're trying to trick your way out of it, and it'll make you feel low worth, which is what it's supposed to do. And then people go, oh, well, actually, no, that's not a problem. I'll just go to therapy and fix it. It's like, no, that anxiety is not an accident. That's a signal. Okay. Now, this sounds like a massive... I know it sounds like I'm catastrophizing it, but this is real, okay? And if you don't think it's real, then you aren't paying attention. You're probably time traveling right now, and you're not thinking... And you're just like, oh, well, no, it's fine because it's entertaining or whatever. And maybe you want to put up with that cognitive dissonance. Okay, maybe you want to put up with that. If that's what you want to do, fine, but I don't want to put up with that crap. No, thank you. I don't want constant cognitive dissonance where my limbic brain is telling me one thing, but everyone else is saying, no, it's actually fine. No, I don't like that. So my solution was, well, I'm just going to get rid of the time travel phenomena. I'm going to get rid of the temptation and just get something that does the job. And like... Now when I wake up, there's literally no option. The only button you have is to turn the thing off. There's no time travel button where you overconsume Reddit for an hour. That button isn't there. There's no option for it. And if you don't even have a smartphone, because that's the other thing, it's good to have the thing and you can maybe still have the smartphone if like that at least is one degree of separation. But it's even better when you have absolutely no opportunity at all to waste time. That's the best. And the thing is as well, there is something to be said about having a dedicated device that does one thing. And I don't really know how to put this to words too well, but because I think this was a gift. Someone got this for my birthday and it was like really cheap. It was like some pre-owned Sony. Apparently these have gone up in value though. I don't know what the deal, because some guy made a video on this exact model supposedly, but I think it was like, how much was this? It was probably like maybe $90, I think. Which for this kind of trade-off, it's like, oh, well, it's $90, but it means that I gain an hour of time every morning. That is so valuable, dude. Like that is actually so worth it. But there is something to be said about you have a device that actually just serves one purpose. And when you have an entire device dedicated to telling time, when you have a device in your vicinity, and its one purpose is to tell you the time, all of a sudden this weird thing happens where you start to think time is way more important because you have deemed it so important that you're dedicating an entire piece of hardware in your room to tracking it. Instead of some big changing like nether portal that does that thing and a bunch of other things, when you have it as one device, it makes the thing it's tracking more important. I don't know why, I just know that that's the case. Because when I started seeing in big numbers and this one device that's always showing it to me, I started looking at it and taking it more seriously. Because it's always there and it's like so important that it has to have something plugged in the wall to track it. Like when you make that effort, the effort if someone had to design this thing, some guy in Japan was like, and we're going to have the clock be a circle. Some guy had to come up with this whole thing, manufacture a bunch of these, have the little battery inside it so that it still works when the power plugs out, make the unit, make the music player in it and everything, all to tell you the time. When you have something that's built with that amount of effort, it makes the purpose of the thing more important. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but you know, it makes it more important. And the cool thing about this specific one, and this is where you get to the actual sound when you wake up to. Very important. A lot of people they don't think this is important. Because I've got some friends that have, I talked them into getting an alarm clock, but they picked out the one that has like a prison alarm sound. Like it's the sound of those prison buzzers. Zzz, when you wake up or something. That is not the sound you want to be waking up to, okay? This sound of like, oh, well, or the default, I see memes about it all the time. Have you seen those where it's the iOS alarm sound? I don't know. I see memes of it. Everyone seems to hate that sound, but they choose it as their alarm. And it's like, if the first thing you hear in the day is a sound you dread and you hate, that is going to like ruin your mood for the whole day. So here's what I do. Okay, this is my trick. Because this luckily has a CD player in it. And you can tell it to just play a song on repeat as the alarm when you wake up. So I have some CDs I've collected that I've used as my options. For a while, I was using the Lazy Town opening theme as my alarm, which is an amazing choice. I would recommend it. Because then the lyrics, if you have a song with lyrics, it's even better. And at the moment, I'm using this soundtrack from Sonic 06. So this has like the opening theme on it. That's what I'm using. So every morning, first thing I hear in the day is "Can't Stop Now, rock and roll," and that's the first thing I hear every morning. And you know what that does? It puts you in a great mood, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get to work. And that's what you want, okay? If you've done that, there's no time portal to the nether, to the Reddit warp nether region or whatever. There's no time traveling going on. You're not wasting time. And your alarm clock is spiritually programming you with some upbeat song with the lyrics, like absolute hardest lyrics possible. Guess what? You're going to have a lot of great days if that's how they start out, okay? Small thing, old technology, 2008 stuff here, but it's way better than like $1,000 smartphone, okay? And, you know, because people might go, oh, well, I don't want to spend money to buy hardware. It's like, you pay $1,000 for your smartphone. Just sell the phone and get this, okay? You will actually make money by selling the phone and just trading for one of these, all right? And you will save hours, which is more important than the money anyway, and your well-being. You will never need therapy again, okay? And let me tell you, all those meds people try and give you, all this antidepressant, no, man, you just need a good song, okay? You need Lazy Town opening theme or His World or whatever. Some epic song with lyrics that go hard, whatever the choice it is. It can be whatever song you want, but it should be something that you like, okay? It shouldn't be, oh, well, Apple's iOS sound team chose this for me. No, okay, no. You need to choose it, okay? You got to choose it yourself. That's the rules, okay? So thanks so much, Tomok, for the 5. That is my why you need an alarm clock, particularly one that can play music that you can choose. So this thing also has a little, hold on. It has a little thing for iPods on the side. I don't know how to get it open. It doesn't work on any new devices though, but if you have an iPod Nano, like an old iPod Nano, you can plug it into it. I'm just using CDs because that's what I've got. But if you have a thing and you can like, best case scenario, if you don't have CDs, get something that with like a USB plug or something, and you can like plug in the USB and load your own music on it and like have it so that it plays stuff as your alarm or whatever. If you can find something that does that, awesome. Because I don't know, they don't make these anymore, so I don't know how easy it is to find CD player alarm clocks anymore, because I guess nobody buys CDs anymore. But whatever you can do to find something that plays music, as long as it's not a smart device, not a smartphone, okay? Don't do the smartphone. It's a portal to hell. Don't do it. All right? Anyway, that's my bit. That's why that's so important, okay? I'll take any questions, and then I'll continue on with my hard drive story. But yeah, Sierra, it does get you pumped for the day, absolutely. And it is actually so important that you start the day in a good mood, okay? It is actually so important. And also, lyrics, man. If you have taste and you pick good stuff, you will start to notice things about the music. So I guess I'll go into this a little. Hold on. I got to get the booklet out with the lyrics on it, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm so passionate about this, okay? And this is so important that I'm going to whip out the booklet and tell you this, because maybe this will be your song. If you don't know, I don't know what song to pick. If you don't know, I'll give you one. Hold on. One sec. I'll get the booklet out. So, because I've been studying this stuff lately, right? Song lyrics, they aren't just words, okay? They're spiritual programming. So, this is the Sonic 06 soundtrack. I've been using this for the discs, for the music. I'm pretty sure you can buy these. I bought this ages ago, but you can probably get these used somewhere. Now, for the opening song that I'm using for my alarm, I want to show you these epic lyrics. Because I grew up with this game and I never really paid attention to the lyrics of the theme song. But dude, okay, this is real stuff. This is real. The first line, there's some good lines in here that I'm going to share with you for those that don't know the song. You need to go listen to it as well. It sounds awesome. It's like a J-rock song. It's awesome. But the lyrics, imagine you wake up and your little alarm clock, this is what it's telling you. It's speaking to you, and this is what it's saying. The countdown started and he's ready to blow. It's got the dope sounds bumping on the stereo, kicking it fast, putting on a show. Get yourself together. There's no time to rest. Put the time in, he'll put you to the test. Running man in his world, more is less. And if you want to test him, you best bring your best. And it's like, okay, I'm ready to get to work. You tell me that there's no time to rest. I got to bring my best. Hell yeah, I'm down for that. And imagine every day you've got a voice in your room telling you that, instead of just the default freaking iOS alarm, freaking prison alarm. That's what I call it. It sounds like you're in jail. No, you want to bring your best. That's what you want. So, and here's the thing, because I know this is important, because I've been doing this for like the last year now, and it changes you, okay? If you do this every day for a year, you will change, okay? You will change. You will suddenly become way mentally better off. You will suddenly just be in a good mood all the time for no reason. You will suddenly not be as stressed out for no reason. You will suddenly, like, I'm telling you, man, it's all in the small things. It sounds innocuous. It sounds like, oh, Ray's just, he's just weird. He's got his alarm clock. No, this serves a purpose. Okay, it's so important. So if you wake up every day and your thing's telling you, it's programming you, just bring your best, no time to rest, he's the number one, or whatever, you're going to suddenly start to notice that you start acting like what you start following the commands. That's what it is. This isn't some kind of, oh, it's a cool song for a video game. No, these are commands. Okay. It's programming. These are programming commands, and it's going right into your brain and it's commanding you. That's what it's doing. So yeah, pick songs that are like that. Don't pick some kind of top 40 Triple J song about drugs or something. Don't pick that. Pick something that's like spiritually pure. So that's why I pick sort of Sonic music or Lazy Town or something. That's what I do. Pick something that's like innocent and pure, that doesn't have all of this, glorifying something you shouldn't be doing. That's what you want. Anyway, so that's all I got to say. That's my spiel on why an alarm clock is important. So now, please go get one. Find one. Make it your absolute top one priority before the end of the day. If you're not doing anything else, you're just scrolling, just get off the phone, go on. If you want to scroll, go scroll eBay and look for one of these. Get off freaking Instagram and go scroll eBay and look for one. And it will change your life. Okay, I know this sounds like sensational, but no, it will. It will actually do it. Cybershell says trance music is my cheesecake. Well, hey man, yeah, whatever it is. I do find trance music pretty cool. It's very upbeat and positive, and I like that. Kind of scary how sometimes lyrics are a warning to the youth, and we never realized it until it's too late because we're just jamming to the beat. Yeah, man, it is a bit like that. It is a bit like that, isn't it? Sierra says, actually though, I do think it could be an interesting gateway to talking about economical, societal factors that brought us to this point. I mean, I don't know, maybe. I'm not really... I don't look at the world. I know there's people that will they like to look out and go, oh, well, what are the socioeconomic factors that led... I don't care about that stuff. I can't control the socioeconomic factors. I can control me, so I'm just going to care about, well, what do I have in this vicinity right now that I can control? And that's what I do. I could worry about all the other factors, but I can't control any of that stuff, so I don't care. I'm just like, all right, well, even if I had an issue with, whatever reason everyone's got smartphones or whatever, even if I have an issue with that, what am I going to do? All right, well, I can just make my own choices. That's the only thing I can do. I can... What does Neo say in The Matrix? Choice. The problem is choice. So that's all you have. You just choose... You have your choices. That's all you can control. So if your choice is to wake up and your phone is choosing you to scroll on Reddit for an hour, the best thing you can really do is to just change that choice. It's like, oh, well, instead of waking up to my phone, I'm going to use this alarm clock. I'm going to replace it. That's a choice you can make, that you can control, that a socioeconomic thing is not going to stop you from doing. So, yeah. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just focus, got to focus intrinsically, you could say. Anyway, so I hope that was, I don't know if that sounded too crazy or on the deep end, But this is important stuff, okay? You can't make, and if you're a creative especially, you can't do good quality work if your first hour of the day is it's like overeating. If your diet is poor, you're going to perform poorly. That's just how it is. So anyway, speaking of information, I'll get my other document back open now, and we'll finish this story. So, because funny story enough, I didn't start worrying about this other stuff until I started fixing all these other little things. It's like, well, now I'm in a good mood every day. Now I'm like noticing way more little issues that are going on throughout my day, and I have the vitality to address them. And one such issue is this whole conundrum with storage. So, I forgot where I was up to in this story. Oh, that's right. So with my computer, there's more hardware stuff that's been a problem for me. I have all of these hard drives in my computer where I keep all of my stuff on, and I have one backup drive that's smaller than all the stuff on my computer, which means I can't back up everything. So the solution I'm thinking for this is making an actual, like fixing this problem. I need a backup with more storage, and I need like to follow an actual etiquette for backing up. Because if I don't do this, I am one accident away from like losing the Library of Alexandria, you could say, which is not good. Not a good move. Not cool. So I've been doing a lot of research lately on storage, and oh my god, storage is actually really complicated. It would turn out. If you want to have safe data secured safely and backed up, it's actually kind of complicated. So most of my week has just been rigorously researching and coming up with an actual backup plan, which I have not had up until now. Because most of my computer stuff I bought years ago before I was doing game dev really or anything. So this was my Overwatch gaming computer. So I didn't think about I didn't think about this stuff because I didn't really, I'm going to lose my Steam games. I'll just re-download them. So I didn't think about storage. But now that I've got stuff, it's like, oh, I got to sort this out seriously. So there's just been a lot of research I've been doing on that, and because I'm a bit stuck on this as well, so I might need it, or, and maybe it's helpful to know sometimes that stuff. And it's like, or I could, just know that it's wasting my time and do something about it, which is, I've sort of done a bit of both in that sense. So, yeah. In that spirit, I'd remove Instagram from my phone and tablet a while ago, which has helped. Yeah, so I did that as well. It's helped a bit. But then I have this device that's like overbuilt for my needs, because I have I have a phone that I'm only using for like email and music, and it can do way more, and it also costs $1,000, and it's like, I have this like overbuilt device with a screen that is too big for what I need it for. And I don't know, those little details do bother me, because then there's always the temptation of, oh, well, I can just reinstall the app, and like some people are desperate enough where they will do that. So, it's like, oh, well, do I really want to have an overbuilt device in my pocket all the time? Or do I want to, actually scale it down to something purpose-built that is only actually doing what I want? And that's the choice I made. So just give me a second. I just got to go check on something. And then just give me like 2 minutes, and then we'll be back from a quick break, and I'll tell you guys about hard drive storage and all the stuff I've been learning about. Maybe you'll learn a thing or two. And if there's any IT experts in chat, I'd like to get your opinion on this as well. But just give me like 2 minutes. I'll be right back after this break from our sponsors. Oh, all right, I'm back. John Feline has returned. Don't worry. Don't worry, your little head. John Feline is back. Cybercell has been jamming to Angels of Darkness, Tomb Raider. Made a whole 2000s vibe music video. That's pretty cool. That sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, 2000s music's actually quite nice. I've been listening to a lot of... Well, actually, just in general, most of the music I listen to at all is all 2000s music. So I guess I don't really have to go looking for it. It's just that's what I end up finding most of the time. So now for my next segment. I don't know how complicated this will be, but so a lot of people don't really think this stuff matters, funny enough, but when you've got storage, hard drives, files, or whatever, it's actually kind of important that it's managed properly. So my current issue, can I draw my little thingamabob here? My current... Oh, why can't I draw? I just want to draw. Where's the brush tool? Hello? Why can't I draw? Oh, there we go. I got it. Sierra says, what if during the credits when it actually comes up to say Raymond Cripps, there's a couple of flickers where it says John Feline? Oh yeah, that would be cool. But I can't do any more work on the game or anything, or the website really. It's actually, I shouldn't be working on anything else until I solve this. So let's, let me try and break this down. So current issue, I basically have no effective backup of anything I'm doing. Like, some of it's backed up, but it's like not actually proper. Like it's not to the standard it should. Because there's a rule with backups where it's like the 3-2-1 rule, where it's like you want to have it in 3 copies on 2 separate mediums with 1 offsite. I am not following this. I should be, because if you don't follow it, you are a disaster away from, like, if for whatever reason, like, I don't know, the Greek gods decide to punish me, torment my soul, and burn down my room, it's over. Not just for me, but for all my files. No one will be able to pick it up after me type thing either. So that's why this sort of stuff matters. And I was saying I was this close to losing everything last year. So the thing is, I kept putting it off, and I was like, oh, well, okay, I should really sort my backup soon, but when I get time. But I'm kind of running it. I should have that happen soon. Because like I said, with the financial year ending, everything is on clearance right now. So if I want to buy a bunch of hardware, like hard drives, RAID arrays, or whatever, it's on clearance. So I can actually save money by fixing the problem now. I should have fixed it years ago, but you know, second best time is now, at the end of the financial year when everything's on sale. And that's why I have not been buying Steam games. But anyway, so I need backups. How would I go about doing this then, and reaching the 3-2-1 rule? How would I comply with this and actually do it to a good enough standard so that it's actually safe? Well, here's what I'm currently thinking. Because one of my current conundrums is that I have more onboard storage in my computer than I have backup storage. So I got to do something to balance that out so that I have as much backup storage as I have flash storage in my computer. Well, it's not all of it is actually flash storage either. It's what I actually am doing is I've got an SSD in there that's got the operating system. I've got because this is how my current computer is set up. And I don't know if this is the best thing, but I've got C. Why am I drawing? I'll just do this. C, which is my system. So that's got my Windows and programs on it. So it's got Photoshop. It's got, you know, Windows, Word, Obsidian, Visual Studio, Unreal. That's installed on C. I've got D, which is... Oh, sorry. D is a Blu-ray drive. So I can read music. So that doesn't really count. But then there's E, which is my actual data, like personal stuff, old archived footage from like 10 years ago, all the stuff, finance data and everything like that. So all of my like kind of important stuff that is like boring adult stuff that I don't think is that interesting. But if I lose all of it, I'm going to have a hard time navigating society without those. And then F, which is really cool, that's the Feline drive. And I like that it uses the letter F. Massive coincidence. I didn't plan for that. But it just so happens to be the next letter. So F drive is Feline drive. And that has devlogs and it has the game source files. But the problem is, you know, these two are 4 terabyte. And these are physical hard drives because those are cheap. Just those old big, what do they call them? Spinning disks. Those are hard disk drives. That is a Blu-ray drive, and then this is a SSD. So the thing is, and you might actually be kind of amazed. It's like, well, wait a minute, Raymond. Doesn't that mean this whole time when you've been working on the game and editing video, does that mean this whole time you've been using a hard disk drive? Yes. Yep. I've been doing it all on a slow hard disk drive with a physical spinning disk and a physical little needle. And there's probably something else you'll notice about hard disk drives is that they don't last very long because they have so many little mechanical moving parts in them and they're so fragile. If you throw one across the room, you've probably destroyed it. If you damage it or whatever, if like the disk thing hits too hard, if the needle gets damaged, then it's over. And the lifespan is pretty short. Usually after about 4 years, these drives start to have failures. And I bought all of my drives 4 years ago. So it's like, I'm getting dangerously close to having some kind of bad sector or drive failure or whatever. Like something is probably it will happen. I like to optimistically think, it won't happen to me. But no, from what I've read on every storage forum I've been looking at the last, week, everyone says, no, dude, it's when it happens. It will happen. It's not a matter of if it'll happen, it's when it'll happen. And I don't have no contingency plan at all for when that happens. And I don't know when it's going to happen. And I think my computer is not going to be nice and be like, oh, I see you're in the middle of this right now. We'll wait to have a drive failure. No, it's not going to care about if I'm in the middle of something important. It's going to stop working when it decides to stop working. So that's why at the moment, I've kind of just put everything else on pause and I've gone full into trying to solve this thing. Because I don't know. I've been so lucky that nothing has happened, but I'm not comfortable being just on luck this time. That's probably how much work I've put in, because now I've put in way more work. I've got Gabby's whole model on there. I've got all these devlogs on there. I've got this big devlog about the model just on that. And there's so much work that, a few years ago, I wouldn't have really cared about losing. But now it's like, well, it's only my life's work. I wouldn't want to lose that. So anyway, so what am I planning to do? Well, there's another technology I've been looking into that's an extra thing of security that someone had told me about ages ago, but I didn't really understand what it was. And this is called RAID. Now, I know if there's any experts in here, I know what you're going to say, and I know already. So a RAID array, it's like a thing where you can have a whole array of hard drives that serve a few purposes, depending on how you configure it. If you do like RAID, I think it's 0. I think it's RAID 0, means you can combine all of these into one big super hard drive. And you have like 4 times the storage on one big drive. Really cool. But if one of these drives fails, you lose everything. Then there's RAID, I think it's RAID 1, where if you have like 2, I think this only applies to 2 of these drives. So if you have RAID 1 on 2 drives, it means that, I can like do stuff on one, and the second drive will mirror everything that the first drive is doing. So I've got 2 copies, which is pretty cool. So it means if one of the drives has some kind of failure, you can restore some data from the mirror. But you sacrifice half of your storage because you don't get the space. You've got 2 hard drives, but you only have the space of 1. Then there's like RAID 5, which works a bit more sophisticatedly, where you've got one of these drives worth of space. It's not necessarily this drive, but distributed, let me undo that. Distributed amongst these drives is the amount that would account, let me do this a bit neater. Distributed amongst these 4, it'll treat it as one big volume, but in these little gaps in each of the ones, it'll store parity data that can be used to restore data loss if one of the drives goes off. And this is what I'm thinking to do. But there is an important disclaimer that everyone will probably point out, and that's that this is not a substitute for a backup. And I thought it was at first when I first heard about this. I'm like, it means I can restore data from the lost drive. But if this is all in one enclosure and someone steals this, then your RAID backup is useless because you've lost both of them. Or if the RAID controller stops working, or whatever. Or if this gets interrupted by a power outage, you lose. It's not a backup. It's just redundancy, meaning that you can afford to have a drive failure, which is actually, if you're using our drives a lot, like I am, it's actually kind of it's amazing I haven't encountered more drive failures, honestly. So I've been pretty lucky, but it's been known to happen. So the idea is with these is that, you can afford to have one of these fail and replace it, and then it'll rebuild the lost data from the RAID array. But of course, you do want a second backup somewhere else, because then this whole thing might happen. Something might happen to it, and then you're screwed. So you want another backup anyway of that. So I've been trying to think because I don't have any redundancy in my entire system. I have like some hard drives in my computer and one backup drive. And I do have an additional hard drive that I keep somewhere else that I will copy everything manually to every so often. So I guess that's a good part of the plan. But none of those have any redundancy. So I've been debating on whether redundancy is... Because then when you get more into how RAID works, it's like super complicated. I don't know why. I don't know why it has to be so complicated, but you start looking at like the difference between hardware and software RAID, and like issues with like write holes and all of this stuff. It's like so complicated. And I'm like, should I even bother? Do I even want to bother with data redundancy at all? And put up with a drive failure and just have, a big drive to put things on and a big backup? Like, is that what I want to do instead? I don't know. So I've been trying to work out an actual strategy, knowing the advantages, understanding the trade-offs and advantages of RAID, and making a choice if I want to implement that or not. Because that's been a huge thing. Because with RAID as well, part of the reason I want to do it is that I can do RAID 5, which means I can get a lot of storage, like a lot more storage, which future-proof wise is pretty good. Because at the moment, what I'd like to do as well is to do this with like solid state drives instead of hard drives. So I don't know if because there's a few different types of, let's just use NVMEs as an example. I don't know if that's what I will do, but let's take NVMEs. Those are like the fastest solid state drives. I don't know if you guys know, you know what those are, right? So you've got the big, physical hard drives, like the old school ones that I have. These are cool, but they're slow. They have a physical needle inside them that reads from a physical disk, easily damaged, doesn't last as long, but cheap. You can get these at like 12 terabytes for very cheap. Very cool. Then you've got, the slightly smaller SATA ones, which are like thinner. They're about like that big. These it's flash memory, no mechanical moving parts. And then you've got like the even smaller NVMe memory, which look kind of like RAM chips, but way smaller. This is like the new stuff that everyone's using. I use one of these in my computer for the operating system. So it means my OS runs really fast, but the actual files I'm using is on a hard drive. So it's kind of useless, really, when you think about it. I guess it's good for gaming, maybe, but I don't really do much of gaming anymore anyway. So all of this, like all of my stuff is being read on a big physical one. So I don't know if there's probably creating some kind of bottleneck. Anyway, so imagine here's what I'm thinking. What if you did a RAID array with 4 NVMEs? Because the problem with NVMEs is they're more expensive than hard drives in terms of getting a lot of storage on them. But what if you did them in a RAID array, like a RAID 5, you could have 4 NVMEs that combined had way bigger storage than a single one. So if each of these was 4 terabytes each, and you did RAID 5, you would have 12 terabytes, and you'd have 4 terabytes of redundancy of parity data. So 12 terabytes is way bigger than 4, and I do need more than 4, because I have about 8 terabytes of stuff currently spread across 2 drives. So if I was to set up something with 12, it'd be like, all right, well, that would give me, 12 minus 8, whatever that's left over, that amount of headroom for the next few years or so, which should be good. But finding like RAID controllers for NVMe and all this other stuff, it's so complicated. Because then there's all this, I don't even know if I want to get into it. It's actually, there are some issues with it still. that kind of undermine the whole, at least from what I can gather, it kind of undermines the whole redundancy factor, but you do get a storage advantage. So I'm thinking, well, do I want to go ahead with this knowing that there are compromises and that using redundancy is probably not even going to work, maybe, if you're trying to reconstruct from it, from parity, because you can have issues if it's reading and writing and it gets interrupted. There's all these weird sorts of problems that can happen. But will it still be worth it anyway for the combined 12 terabyte storage all on one big drive that I can just put everything on? Is that still worth it? Just to have as like flash storage and then having some other array of HDDs for backup, which I would probably consider doing big chunky HDDs for backup, because yes, those break down easily, but if you're backing up like once a day, you're using the drives less often, so you're going to get more out of them. Where in my case, I'm using the drives constantly. Like even recording this VOD right now, it's recording to a hard drive. So the discs are always being used and they're going to be worn out quicker. So if I use HDDs for just backup, where they're only getting used once a day or something, I don't know, that's something I'm thinking about. Anyway, I know this is super boring. I apologize. I know this isn't cool, fun progress or whatever. But, you know, I guess this is why actual game studios have an IT department that like sorts all this stuff out. So that, you know, because didn't this happen to Toy Story? Like Toy Story 2, there was that whole incident where they almost lost the whole movie, but luckily one of the employees on maternity leave happened to make a copy of all the files so she could work from home, and she like saved the whole movie. So like, I know this sounds paranoid, but this does happen. Like this isn't some kind of made up risk of like being scared or something. Like, no, this does happen to like professionals, you know, to actual people that know what they're doing. So I'm thinking, all right, well, if this happens to even those people, and they're at risk of losing like whole movies of stuff that cost millions of dollars, is something I should probably look at. So I don't know, this is what I'm currently thinking. But again, I'm not an expert on how any of this works, really. I'm just been literally, you know, armchair researching this all week, really. I'm not really a IT expert guy. So I don't know if there's any holes in this. I know that there's like software RAID is like, I don't know, there's some people trust it, some people don't. I'm not quite sure what to make of it, really. It's just, I don't know why it has to be so complicated. I don't know why there's just not something that just works, you know? But I guess it turns out, you know, telling a chip to remember an arrangement of bits and have it stay like that for 20 years, it's actually kind of difficult, it turns out. So, you know, I guess you could always just use stone tablets. Maybe that's what, you know? So, yeah. So I don't know. Does that make any sense? I know it's probably super boring. Sierra says, I couldn't do that nowadays. I've gotten too used to SSDs. Well, see, I don't even know what I'm missing on. I have no idea. Like, because HDDs are cheap, so that's just what I've been doing. But it's like, I have a gut feeling, the voices in my head tell me that, Ray, you should really be using flash storage, like a large pool of flash storage. So that way you could, because especially when video editing, which I do a lot of as well, you know, previewing footage, like half of the time I'm working on videos, it's just waiting for like the footage to load in from my hard drive. So my voice is telling me, look, Ray, it's going to cost more, but it means you won't have to wait around for Premiere to load this footage and you'll be able to work faster. And I'm thinking, yeah, that does sound reasonable. It's just, you know, setting it up competently and not screwing it up and not misusing RAID or something like that. That's the main concern. So my main concern is just with the verifying parity, which is this whole thing with RAID 5. I don't know if this is a problem with RAID 1, but with the parity data that you would have distributed across these four, the idea, like, again, this isn't a backup. This isn't so that you can restore from backup. It's not the point. The main point is that if there is a drive failure with one of it, like let's say this one goes kaput, the whole point of parity data is that you can slot in another NVMe. It has to be the exact same as the rest, though. But if it's the exact same drive with the exact same whatever, everything's the same and it's just empty, it will reconstruct the array from this parity data and juice all of that into the new one. That's what it's supposed to do. But if your computer is managing the RAID array, Like if my computer here through the software is telling this to be a RAID array, because if there's nothing telling it it's a RAID, then any computer's just going to read these as 4 SSDs and not know what to do. But if you're doing software, which is what most of it is now, and if my computer crashes during one of these procedures where it's writing parity, then it creates something called a write hole. Now, I don't know if this is 100% correct. I literally learnt this yesterday, so if I'm wrong, correct me. From what I understand, if my computer has a crash, which is probably the most often problem I have in general, is the thing will just crash. And if that does happen, and if it's in the middle of writing parity, then that parity is now wrong. It's incomplete or corrupt. But there's no way for the computer to know that. It thinks all of the parity's fine, but it actually doesn't know that, oh, we didn't finish one. That's where hardware RAID comes in. And this is more old legacy stuff. Back in the, in the 90s and stuff, people would have they'd have all this in an enclosure with a physical board in the thing that had a hardware controller that managed the array. And that if the computer crashed, the hardware was still knowing, the computer just crashed. Okay, we won't mess with the parity right now. We won't corrupt it. The only failure point with a hardware one, though, is if this whole thing loses power, which you can mitigate with a UPS, which I do have. So I think that should be good enough. But finding hardware RAIDs for NVMEs, I don't know. I look at Google or whatever. Most of it is just AI articles, so that doesn't help. But then the stuff I do find, it's like these big PCIe boards, and like, it's all high tech and stuff. And it's like, I don't know what any of this does. This looks like server equipment. I don't know what any of this does. So, so that's just kind of been my current conundrum. And I know that, it's like, it's so boring. Oh my God. But it's like, look, if I don't solve this, I am at risk of losing everything. So I think it's kind of important. It's not the fun stuff. It's not what I want to be doing. I want to be working on levels right now. I want to be doing cool stuff. I want to be doing my textures. But if I ignore this, and if I miss this opportunity in the current time of the year, it means if I solve this problem later, I'll have to pay more for drives. And if I keep deferring this problem, I'll be more at risk of losing my life's work, which, no big deal. It's just my life's work, guys. No big deal. So... yeah, very boring, but I think, because, this isn't the stuff you see on, I made Minecraft in one day, devlog 1. Like, you don't see anyone talk about this. And I guess because, I don't know, maybe a lot of them aren't doing stuff that's important enough to back up. I don't know, but I don't know. Like, I think this is stuff I really should have looked at years ago, and now I'm paying the price now of having to spend all this time learning about it now. So, gotta wash the bowl, right? So I'm trying to wash the bowl and get an actual proper backup strategy going, because just using GitHub is not good enough. Like, that's something I do as well. I've got my source tree backup thing going. I've got that going too, but that only does the game source code. It doesn't do any of my footage. It doesn't do anything else that isn't the game source code. Yes, it's better than nothing, but it's not really good enough. So, yeah. So anyway, that's sort of been what I've been mostly stuck on. Yeah. So I don't know. My main question is if I have a big RAID of NVMEs that instead of using onboard in my computer storage to do stuff, if I get rid of those hard drives in my computer and just have a little enclosure of NVMEs that I use as my main storage for my documents, I know it will be faster. But is it worth the risk of having all of that software RAID? Because a lot of them are only software RAID. It's like, is it worth that risk of having the parity kind of not be reliable? Would having the second backup mitigate that? And, those are my main concerns, really. And I don't really know where to look for answers. Because the other annoying thing, and this is why, to kind of circle back to my personal site that I'm trying to build, the other problem is that learning about this stuff has become way more complicated. Because you look up anything, there was a website I was looking at for this. And like half the stuff you look up now is all like overwritten AI articles. Like, hold on, I was looking this up and I typed into Google raid right hole, and like the first 5 results, I'm just trying to find, there was a specific site I was on that was just insane. I think the site might not even be around now. Oh no, I found it. Here we go. Yeah. So I tried to look this up, and here's why it's been taking me a while. Because you look up stuff like this, because that's how I solve problems. Okay, I do what millennials do, where you just Google it and you type it on Google. Oh, I want to know how to solve it. What's a right hole? What does that mean? And then all the results you get now are this overwritten AI generated article with a random picture of atomic habits in the middle of every article for no reason. Like, and it's like not coherent. Like, I know that this is meant to look like information. It's meant to look like a Wikipedia article because it's got big blocks of paragraphs. But you actually read it, this doesn't say anything. This is AI generated. And it's like, well, how do you know, Raymond? How do you know it's AI generated? Well, because you look at the rest of the website and all the other top posts are completely unrelated to this. Top best protein shakes for women. Top 10 powerful ChatGPT. How to build, like, what's going on? Like, what is this? You go to the homepage. Because look, who's writing this? Hogo Next editorial team. Okay, well, whoever's writing this is too much of a coward to put their own name on it. And then you look at the front page and it's like, oh, these all look like not written, like no company would have this broad a subject matter writing about anything. I don't know a single website that writes about this many unrelated, and then making the choice to write an entire article about how to log into Twitter. No human is doing this with a picture of atomic habits spliced in the middle for no reason. No human is doing this. So when you try to learn anything about any of this stuff now, half the stuff you get is this crap. So that's why I'm also just a bit fatigued of trying, because I'm trying to learn and I want to learn about how all this works. And it doesn't help when half this crap I'm getting is this of like, oh, well, as you know, this has become an integral part of the, it's a popular storage technology that offers good. It's like, can you just, you could cut this out. You could cut all this paragraph out, would not make a difference. Get to the point. And it doesn't, because it's not, no one's right. This is not an intelligence. This is just slop. So, yeah. Old man yells at cloud. Haha, I know. But, yeah, it makes learning anything more complicated when you have all this sewage to sort through. When you're trying to learn important stuff like how to actually back up your life's work properly, you know? So I'm just a bit cranky. I'm a little cranky. But yeah, so that's how I've been. How are you guys? That's been my week. Mad Goose says we're going to have to start going to libraries. Honestly, I have been doing that unironically. I know this sounds crazy, but yeah, that's actually what I've been doing. In fact, because funny little tangent as well, because I wanted to, because as you know, for Project Feline, a lot of you have asked me, are you going to do cutscenes? And I said kind of, but not really. I'm not going to do them the way you think. I'm not going to do some pre-animated, over-animated, all the characters are always moving. No. What I do want to do in the game is have like little comic strip, kind of like Gravity Rush does, in between, you know, levels, short little comic strips to propel the plot forward. The thing is, though, is it's going to be a while before I can get to that, because I really shouldn't be doing that unless I sort all this out, right? But also, it's like, well, I mean, how do you, like, write comics good? Like, little... Because you're basically writing comics. How do you write good comics? I should probably know how to do that if I'm going to rely on this to tell my story. And I went to the library. I actually went to a physical library, because anything on YouTube was just junk. So I went to the library, and I found a copy of this book called The Art of Comic Book Writing. And I've been reading through this just a piece at a time, and it's quite good. It goes through a lot of... I haven't read the whole thing yet, but just the first chapter I've read has been quite insightful. And, you know... How much do I want to say about it? It's good. Like, you actually read it, and it's interesting. And it's like, this guy has obviously written comics, and he's obviously knows what he's talking about. And it's good enough that he printed books and went through the hassle and overhead of getting this published physically. And because that way it actually needs to sell. Like, it has to be actually good so that you buy it and that libraries buy it and all this stuff. So, this has been quite a good read. It has lots of examples of, like, what not to do, how not to lay out a shot, the actual, like, how the story itself changes based on the, like, all of this stuff. How to write, like, dialogue for comics specifically, because there's a whole other thing with that too, which I find quite good. Actually, I think this is, if anyone in chat is like, oh, I want to tell a story in my game, I actually would think about doing it in some kind of Gravity Rush comic format, honestly. Because the big problem I see with so many games is that they overwrite everything. I saw this in Neon White and a bunch of other games where every line of dialogue is just overdone. Over too much. The thing is, with a comic, by the design of the format, there's a little page in here where they show this. You physically can't do it. You can't overwrite it because it takes up physical real estate. So if you're trying to write this long monologue, you can't do it because it'll take up all the room from the image, and you will get visually punished for overwriting. So I was like, oh my God, I never thought of that. That's brilliant. Because that way, no matter what you do, you have to write them in like less than a sentence. Each line has to like be one line long. And it's like, well, you only get, 20% of the image to put text in. It makes you very deliberate about what you're going to write down. I don't have the exact I don't know which page it was, but they show you an example of like a massive paragraph from an amateur writer and then one of a professional, and it's like way shorter. And it's like, oh, wow, that's so brilliant. Yeah, you wouldn't find that online though. You have to like actually read. So, yeah. So I think chat, is the World Wide Web cooked? Is it over? It might be, man. So that's why I think handmade websites are going to be the future. Algorithms will die, and libraries might come back. We might be so back. So. Yeah. Cybershell says, I absolutely am. So much power in making 3D models that look 2D. Indeed. It is pretty handy. Because that's the other thing is, I can use Gabby's model. I don't even have to draw my cells. I can pose them with my models and just take a screenshot. And now I've got a comic cell. And then it's like, all right, well, now you've got your little comic cell with the character doing something. And you have like a fourth of that screen to write something if you need. And it's like, all right, well, you can't write a big, you can't write an overdone monologue. Can't do it because it's going to visually punish you. I don't know. I just think that's such a brilliant constraint that I never thought about. Because I had a gut feeling. I'm like, I think I got to do it comic style. I don't know why, but I know it's the right one. And as I keep learning more about it, the more I realize that it's kind of right for my needs. So it's pretty cool. Keo says, I've seen people in modern day comics write an entire speech that took multiple pages. Oh, wow. Wow. Even in official Marvel stuff, man. Because yeah, that's like a very trait amateur thing, isn't it? And look, I'm not saying I am an amateur. That's the thing, is that I know if I don't think about that, then I will make the same mistake. So the goal is, how do you as an amateur ascend so that you can convince people that you aren't an amateur? And I guess you do that by just acting like a pro, or writing like a pro. Even if you aren't, you don't have 10 awards or whatever, you don't have a degree or whatever, like the pros do, you could still at least try to act like one. So that's what I try. But yeah, so I've been reading bits of that and reading, I actually, for this whole storage thing, because I have like 30 tabs of me trying to learn about RAID storage, redundancy, backups, all of this stuff. And there's so much, even the stuff that is written by humans, there's so many contradicting information. And it's like, I just want one book written by some old guy that's going to tell me what to do. That's what I want. I just want some old dude in his 60s that's spent his whole life doing IT. I want him to tell me. I want someone like him to tell me what I ought to be doing. I don't want some, like 5 competing, tech bro people telling me what I ought to be doing. I just want one old guy that has nothing to prove with some long book that tells you, here's the proper procedure that people have been doing for like 20 years or whatever the thing. That's the thing. Because there's a lot of like cutting edge stuff too, where it's like, and then you can back it up to the cloud, which even if you were so inclined to do what's latest, I can't even do that. Because Australian internet is so bad, you literally cloud is not really viable. Like, bandwidth is so bad here, it would take you so long to upload anything to the cloud. So I've already ruled that out as I'm not doing that. So yeah, I'd like to know, what were game studios in 1994 doing for their storage? And if there's a book on that, that's what I want to read. I don't want to read this freaking AI gohugo.com freaking no, it wasn't that. Hogonext.com. Well, RAID 5 is a popular storage. It offers good, like, no, just shut up. No. I don't know. This is not an editorial team. This is nothing. This is worthless, all of this. So, and this is like half the stuff I'm finding, man. It's just so frustrating. Anyway, I could rant all day, but I won't. I won't rant all day, but I could. Keo says, old dude that's been spent his whole life doing IT? We got an AI for that. oh really? Oh. Part of why I love Nine Souls is because of how they present their story. Oh, is that... I think you guys showed me that one before. I think I know this one. See, I'm not a boomer. Oh, okay, no, I've never heard of this. I have no idea what this is. Oh, no, okay, I've seen this guy... no idea what the game was, but I've seen this image, this thumbnail image. I've seen that thumbnail image. So they do... Oh, that's actually kind of neat. Yeah, they got a little dude, little text box. And that's the cool... You'll notice as well, and this is something I have to fix for mine, because my text box auto scales with the width of the screen, which is not good. You notice how with these ones... You'll notice this with old SNES games, and with these. You notice how the speech bubble is always a fixed size. You ever notice that? And they always break it into like no more than 3 lines in like basically any game that is done well ever that has speech bubble dialogue. You'll see this in Breath of the Wild. You'll see this in Pokemon. You'll see this in this right here. You'll see this in Celeste. You'll notice how all of them do not do some dynamically sized text box where they have, it's like, oh, well, why do we want to split it up between 3 lines? Like, you see how here it's like, it's you, the white-haired demon, and then they have to split it up into different ones. Someone might think, oh, well, what if we just had it all in one big paragraph? Then we don't have to click as much. Yeah, but visually, it's horrendous. It's way more clear to just do 2 lines like this in a small box that's in a clear focal point, lower third of the screen, with nice margins around it. It isn't on the edge. You notice that as well, how this isn't sitting at the very bottom of the screen. It's got a margin. So, I don't know. I know this sounds probably super, super nerdy, but this is quite good. This is all the stuff you got to be thinking about. This is what happens when you start reading Swiss designers. You start noticing all this like margins, size, paragraph width, type, kerning. It's all beautiful. This is actually so good. And the cool part is you will never notice. If you're a gamer, if you're an average gamer, you'll not notice. And that's good. You will not notice how good it is. So that's quite good. I like that. That's actually, I might pick that size for my text boxes because that's actually perfect. This little box. Because mine, like if you go ultra wide, it'll scale and it messes up the entire visual clarity of the whole thing. So yeah. Big text box scares caveman brain. That's right, Mad Goose. It does scare the caveman brain every time. So you want the nice, simple... Because you see how you don't even have to read it? Like, you just see it and you read it automatically. Whereas those like Marvel thing you were just telling me about, where the Marvel comics have like a whole page... Your brain, without even reading the words, just from the volume of text, you will instantly... You'll do like the, I ain't reading all that. Good luck though, or sorry that it happened. That's what your brain will do that immediately if it sees anything more than like 3 lines, usually. Yeah, it's pretty insane. If it's the 1-to-1 ratio, but it's built good, yeah. So anyway, I could sit here and review this all day, but I do have some work to do. So, I don't know. This whole idea is, I don't know if anyone here, an IT professional that happens to be watching, is this a good plan of having like a big, I'll simplify it because this is overcomplicated. Here's my plan for storage. I don't know if this is good. I don't know if this is a good idea, but I'll sign you with my plan, and I'll check the comments later today if there's any feedback on it. Can I hold on, let me start over. My plan is for my main storage. This is going to be external from my computer, but attached to my computer through like USB. So here's my computer down here. Here's my plan to save my life's work from catastrophe. CPU, okay, but this only has internal storage for the OS and my programs. This then plugs into like USB-C, which I know is not the fastest, but I have an old motherboard and that's the best I've got, and that's still going to be faster than what I've got now, so that's fine. And then like some kind of RAID array of NVMEs or something, or SATAs or whatever, just flash storage in a RAID array of RAID 5. This is what I'm thinking. So that way there's redundancy and I get the combined storage, 12 terabytes of 3 of these. And then I get 1 worth of redundancy. I don't know how reliable that's going to be though, because if it's done with software, that could not be the case. If it's hardware, I don't even know where you would find a hardware one. So maybe that is the solution. I don't know. I just don't know where to find hardware RAID controllers. But if it's software, whatever, not sure yet. And then connected to this somewhere else, maybe in some other part of the room or somewhere else, maybe I have another RAID array, RAID 5 as well, but this will be of big hard disk drives. So this is SSD, this is HDD, and I'm using HDD for backup because it's cheaper and these don't get used as often because they're just backup. This is my plan. And then I have some other hard drives in my closet right now that I'm not using, some hard disk drives. What I would think to do is then, once a month or something, make a backup of everything here onto these. Hold on, let me draw that again. Onto these ones that I don't keep plugged in. So these ones will run on a schedule. Like every day, it'll do I have software that already does this. It'll do incremental backups and then full backups on schedule. And then manually, I'll back that up then to these ones I'm keeping somewhere else that I might put into this RAID tray. I'll swap the drives out or whatever. That's what I'm currently thinking. So this side is all HDD backup of the plan. And this is flash that this is stuff that's in use, active use. And I want this to all be flash because it's faster. And this will all be, flash is also more durable. So you can read and write to it more and it will last longer because there's no mechanical parts. And then all the backup stuff is hard disk drive that is being used less often to mitigate the wear and tear of physical drives. That's my current plan. I don't know if that fits the 3-2-1 exactly. And I don't know if there's some issue with this that I'm not seeing. I don't know. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, this will also be connected to a UPS as well. All this is connected to a UPS. So power outages should be fine if that happens. It's just if the computer crashes, I know this will have an issue with software RAID on flash storage. It'll compromise the integrity of the parity if I do that, from my understanding. I don't know if that's actually how serious of a problem that is, if it's worth even considering, but from what I've read, that seems like it might be a weak point. But in that case, would that matter? Would it still be the case that I get the advantage of the combined 12 terabytes in flash storage, which is a lot of flash storage, which is great? Would that still be worth it? And then just use, if data loss does occurs, just going from backup. That's what I think. I can't come up with anything better. I know that there's some compromises in it, but I think I've accounted for every possible thing. But I don't know. Any IT experts here that know what they're doing, I'm open to suggestions on this because I'm just trying to array. My only concern is just this whole thing with parity integrity, which that's my only concern, really. It's just because I know that in a software RAID, which most of these RAID controllers that I see for sale are all software, which means that it means that it's all running on my computer. not on the drives itself. And my concern is that if my computer crashes, it compromises the parity in some way. Like, it doesn't know which part of the parity is. Like, if it's halfway through writing it, it gets interrupted by blue screen, which happens. And if it's in the middle of writing parity, it's like, oh, well, our parity is now corrupted, and we don't know. We will never know if it's until something happens. So I don't know if that's like tolerable, where that's allowed, where it's like, oh yeah, you can mitigate, you can have that be an issue and still be fine because you'll have the backups. I think that's the case, but because I'm not an expert, I'm like 80% confident in this plan, but I'm not 100% confident, and I want to be 100% confident before I start buying, because this is going to cost quite a bit. But I think it's worth it. Sadly, it means I don't get to buy Steam games, but you know, it's a worthy price to pay for salvation. So anyway, that'll be it for me this week, guys. Sorry that if this wasn't as interesting. Sorry that there isn't any cool game dev this time, but you got to watch the bowl first, and then you can do the fun stuff. So once I work through these issues, then I'll have proper backups, and then my data will be as safe as houses, which is still not safe really, because you can still burn down a house, but safe as houses is a good standard, I think. And then I can keep working without the risk of one thunderstorm ending it all. And then I can finish up the website. I'll have time to actually work on that instead of researching this. And then I can get back to everything else that can get the video out, and then I can keep working on levels, which would be awesome. That's what I want to be doing. But you got to do the boring homework first. You know, game dev isn't all fun and games. Cybersoul says, my dad has a mini PC connected to his RAID. Oh. It's not by any chance. It isn't like a network. It's not a networked drive by any chance, is it? Because I did look into those. Those are a whole different thing, which do have they look like what these are. But then there's a difference between those. So I'll just use this little corner down here, because what I'm doing are called DAS, which is just a big RAID tray that's directly attached to the computer, that you have to have the computer plugged into it for it to work. And then there's these other ones called NAS, Network Attached Storage, which has its own computer in it that manages, I guess it is a hardware controller, I guess. I don't know if that counts, but it's running the drives independently of the computer, and instead of connecting it to the computer, you access it through the local network. Now, I did look into NAS. That's the first thing I looked at, and I realized that it's way overkill for my purposes. This is like, yeah, it's like lots of maintenance, a NAS. It comes with a lot of software. It's got a lot of perks, like you can access it from anywhere in the world. You can run a media server on it, but I don't need to do any of that. And I don't want to be able to access it from anywhere in the world, frankly. And they also cost way more than a DAS. So I'm like, all right, well, that's cool, but I don't need a NAS. A DAS should do. It's just, if I have a DAS, then you have that issue of like, if you're using your computer as the RAID controller, and if your computer crashes, what happens? Is that acceptable for that to be a problem? Can you still avoid data I mean, I guess with a backup you can, but you know, and it's so complicated, man. Oh, it's that thing where it's like you're trying to research it, and it is complicated and boring. So it's literally the actual worst kind of work. It's complicated and boring. Because at least with levels, it's like complicated and interesting. But this is not interesting. Like, this is so boring. So I'm sorry I've had to like bore you guys with my hour-long rambles of my crazy schizophrenic sketches of storage. But, you know, yeah. Tiger says, if you have any issues, just write an issue ticket. Well, preferably, I'd like to know what the issues will be before I buy all of this, you know? So that way, you know, because it's an investment. So I'd like to kind of know every possible weak point before I buy anything, so that I know exactly, even if there is a compromise, I don't mind, so long as I know that it's like, oh, I can mitigate this compromise. Like, oh, maybe the software RAID is the data parity is compromised. Maybe that's the case and there's no way around it, and you will have to just restore from backup to fix that. If that's actually the best you can do, that's fine. It's like, all right, well, that's the best you can do. But I want to know that that's a thing so that I don't falsely expect that data, that parity and redundancy is going to be like enough. I want to know that it does. It's like, I don't want to have a false expectation of what it does. That's the main thing. I want to understand exactly how it all works, then invest in the whole thing and set it up. So that way, because this is going to probably last me a long time. That's the idea. I don't want to ever have to make another choice ever again on how to manage this. I want this to last until I'm a boomer in real life. So I want to know what the weak points are. I want to know what to look out for, how to maintain it, so that I won't have to ever write an issue ticket to anyone. So that it's like, oh, there's an issue. I know why there's an issue. I know what's causing it, and I know how to fix it. That's the level of understanding I want. And because if you know what will happen, you can avoid issues in the first place, so that you don't have to. Yeah, that's my main point, is that I want to be able to know it so that I can avoid having problems at all, which is the best remedy. It's just avoidance, catastrophe avoidance. So anyway, Tiger says, oh, I meant the tool writing for blog posts. Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about the hard drive stuff. Oh, sure. Hold on. What did you give me something? Hold on. I'll have to scroll back through chat here. I don't think it'll show links in chat. So I don't, if you've got some code that you've written, thank you, by the way, you didn't need to do that. Go to my, I'll see it better if you go to my current website. I have a contact form there. Just send it through there. I'll be most likely to see it and I'll check it out. Thanks so much. That's very kind of you. You didn't have to do that. I'll be sure to give it a try though. So yeah. Mad Goose says, at least I know I'm not living in the timeline where Raymond loses everything. I know, right? So that's the thing is, yeah, because I'm looking at this. I hate all of this. I don't want to do any of this. I want to just do fun stuff. Okay, I want to do textures. That's what I want to do. But I know that if I don't wash the bowl, I will pay the price. The monk will pay the price, you know? And yeah, so I don't want to be in that timeline either. So at least if look, it's torture, but if I figure it out, then I won't have the torture of losing it all. Then you won't have the rise and fall of Raymond Cripps video, where it's like, he was doing great. He had a great game and it looks like such a great indie game. And then one lightning strike happened and 6 years of work down the drain. Wouldn't that be so funny? No, it wouldn't be funny. But I don't know. I guess if that did happen, I would just laugh, honestly, because it is my fault. If that does happen, that would, honestly, I would take the blame. Like, yeah, that was my fault. That was stupid. Or as Thor would say, it was really dumbass thing to do. So I'm not going to do that. So that's why I got to do all this boring research. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now. I'm going to go back to researching this. I'm going to check out this script from Tiger. Thank you so much. I'm going to give that a shot. And I'll be back next week, hopefully, with a storage solution that works. I probably won't have the components by then, because I don't live in America where we have same-day shipping. That just isn't a thing here. So I'll at least have, hopefully, a plan. And, yeah, we'll see how we do there. So thanks for joining me. Buy a clock. Stop using your phone as that's my homework for you this week. That's right. I'm invoking my teacher instinct right now. I'm giving you homework. Buy a Sony Dream Machine or whatever the hell you want. I don't care. Buy an alarm clock where you can pick the alarm sound to be whatever you want. Do it. Okay? You must do it. Stop using your phone. And that'll be all from me. So I will see you guys same time next week for more storage solution goodness. Have a good weekend, fellas. I'll see you then.